All right, I just have to put it out there that when the guest's name is Haas, Hoss,
This is Collabs.
my expectations are already through the roof.
They're super
So
high.
high.
Super high. I saw his profile photo, had a bucket hat on that
Ready
thing,
to
and
go.
I was like, hello, it's going to be a real podcast.
Like, imagine the confidence level that one must have in order to, like he does, pull off the name Haas. Like, if my name was Haas, both you would be like, right.
You wish.
Yeah, you wish. Yeah, exactly. You wish.
Write that on your Starbucks cup.
Yeah, and then I would cower. I'd be like, you're right.
Automotive is definitely an industry that I would say is full of characters. And probably more than any other industry I can think of aside from maybe like entertainment. Just think about it. Think of the perception of auto dealers, and then you think about like all the different
thinking around. I'm like,
industry partner side,
dealer
dealer
all over the
side.
place.
Like, there's definitely a cast of characters.
That's what I love
more
about
than a
this,
rank.
though,
Of course,
because when we get to interview these people, it's not like, and my technology does this one thing, right? Like every single time, I'm like, that so many times during Auto Collabs over the last year and a half since we've been doing it. There's this moment that I'll be like,
excuse me.
What?
We need to get a bomb. We need to get like a bomb drop trigger pad so that when someone says it, like we can hit the bomb drop.
Yes, exactly.
And it'll just stop.
Well, hey, I'm sure that there might be a couple little bomb drops because we're always surprised. And with a name like Haas, you got to believe it. So we hope you enjoy this conversation with Haas.
Okay, so one of my biggest fears, and I don't fear much, but one of my biggest fears is getting people's names wrong.
No.
Like, I hate getting people's names wrong. So I ask, is it Devine or Devine? And the reason is because when I moved from Canada to Texas, boy, did I get tarred and feathered when I said pecan. They're like, it is a
rightfully so.
Right. I say pecan, so I don't know. That could be the southern draw, but that's what I say is pecan.
All right, but that's why I had to make sure it's not. It's divine, not divine.
Well, if you're from the South, they might say Devine.
Okay, so either
sounds better kind of when you say it.
Hey, well, either way, excited to welcome you to Auto Collabs. Haas Devine, thanks so much for joining us. I want to get into this. You said something pre-show, and it's left me inspired already because I have recently embarked on a health and wellness journey, down about 20 pounds, feeling all proud of myself. And then Devine says, I'm down 201 pounds.
Whoa.
How in the world? First of all,
he just
congratulations.
10x'd you, baby.
Yeah, first of all, congratulations, because
thanks.
It is all sorts of hard work. I've realized it's the hardest thing I've ever had to do. But also, this leads into the first thing I want to ask you is a bit of a get to know you, also tie into what you do in the auto industry. What have you learned about yourself during that process? And how has that shaped the way you conduct business? Has it changed it at all?
Well, man, that's a good question. Why do you guys ask such tough questions?
Usually, by the way, I got to have one every now and again because usually I'm like the court jester.
Okay, well, you're not going to make me cry or anything, right?
Well, that's up to you.
We'll see.
We're working
now that we know the possibility, who knows?
I would say, growing up, I had my family's all big. And so every emotion in life I was raised is around food. If you're happy, you eat. If you're sad, you eat. If you're excited, you eat. If whatever happens in your life, you celebrate it with food or, you suppress it with food.
Sounds so good.
And, have to clean your plate. I mean, I remember, you had to eat everything on your plate. I love leaving stuff on my plate now. I get a kick out of it. I'm like, yeah, do you want a box for that? No, I don't need that. It's, but really it's like, try not to live life in excess, and trying to, just, food is fuel. And I just had to change my mindset around food. And actually, I'd say the way that combines to what I do now is I changed my mindset around what this business looks like. And and so I changed my mindset around food to transform my health. But now I've changed my mindset around the automotive industry to transform the way we run dealerships and the way we look at our business, because nothing that we've done, we've all had this old way of looking at things. And, I've been in business since I was 19 years old. I'm 48 now. So, I mean, it's, I've seen a lot of things in the industry. I remember when the internet came out, I thought we were done. The first
Right.
time the customer came in with an invoice, and I was like, "Oh my God, we're going out of business now." But I was just a green pea salesman and didn't think anything about it. But really, to me, that's what innovation is. That's what change is it's all about changing your mindset around things and not looking at, you've heard the story, and I think, I don't know if you've heard it, but I'll tell it real quick. But there was a little girl who asked her mom at Thanksgiving, "Hey, Mom, why do we cut the turkey in half and put it in the oven?" And the mom said, "Well, that's just the way Grandma did it. Ask Grandma when she gets here." So Grandma gets there and she asks the same question. And Grandma says, "Well, that's the way my mom did it. When she gets here, ask her." And so then great grandma comes in and asks her, "Well, why do you cut the turkey in half?" And she said, "Well, it's really easy, honey. Back then, my oven was only big enough to hold half a turkey." And so,
Oh no.
but look at the way we do stuff in automotive. Why do we do stuff this way? Why do we do stuff? And it's challenging the status quo. We do stuff and we don't even know why we're doing it. It's just, hey, that's the way we've always done it. So let's just do it that way. And that's why I don't work well for others. I realized a long time ago, that's why I got into consulting, is I don't work well for others because I challenge everything. And so the best way to do that is to challenge this industry and say, hey, there's a better way of doing business. I remember I was a green pea salesman. I won't say the dealer's name, but I remember, we used to have those screamer pencils that we would send out to customers, back in the day where, I got really good at getting people to sit down, and peel them off the ceiling because of the numbers we presented to them. And
been there for sure.
And I asked the dealer one day, we were standing out on the pad, and I said, "Hey, why do we treat customers the way we do?" And I'm a 19-year-old green pea punk, and he's like, "Haas, do you know how many people there are in Oklahoma City?" And I said, "Well, I don't know, 1.5, 2 million people." And he's like, "Yeah, you know how long it takes to piss off 1.5 million people?" And that was the way he looked at doing business. And
wow.
so,
wow.
but we deserve the reputation we got back in the day, as car guys. But today the business is changing, and I think the internet and technology has helped our industry more than anything.
What is, like, when you think about the oven just wasn't big enough, right?
Right.
Is there something that you can point to that, as you've been in the industry, that you've dug in and you're like, oh, I did find out why we did it that way, and it was another, like, oven wasn't big enough story? Like, oh, it was because we had to back then, but that scenario doesn't actually even exist anymore. So why are we continuing to do that way? Or now maybe the industry is shifting.
Funny, but you bring up a point that, so there's actually several things that I look at that way in our industry that says, why did we do it that way? And when you go back, here's an education lesson for probably a lot of people that don't know this. But I'm a student of the business, so I try to learn everything that I can. I'm always learning. And let's look at service, right? Why does the DMS handle ROs the way they handle ROs? And the reason why is, back in the day before computers, when a customer came into the shop, we had little cards that we would write an RO on. And so the customer would come in, they'd say, "What's your complaint?" And they would say, "Oh, well, this is wrong." And so they'd write a customer pay ticket on one card. And then they'd say, "Oh, well, let me see if you have any warranty work." And then they'd write another card with warranty work. And that became the standard that transferred over into DMSs. And that's why my software does little things different with some service stuff, is because dealers are under the impression that when they look at the financial statement and they see that you've had 1,235 customer pay ROs, they think they've had 1,235 customers in there. That's not the case. My system shows them, hey, for service, for instance, hey, you actually had 873 customers in there, but you had other customer pay tickets, line items that came in on warranty tickets or on internal, or whatever. And so dealers don't even understand that what they're seeing, they're basing their business decisions off bad data. And the DMSs, they won't go and tell them the truth. They won't
That's
tell
so
them.
wild.
You know what I'm saying?
I love that story. That's one I didn't know. I'm like, oh, well, of course, because if you were building a DMS based off the fact that you had paper and now you
Make
don't
a digital
have paper,
version of what you
as
did
well
on
write it
paper,
like this.
obviously. Right?
And so with my F&I tool, I did what we did on paper, and I transformed it to automate it for F&I to say, okay, we don't have paper anymore, but let's take it and convert it to where now this is digital and we can do some really cool, innovative shit that we. Excuse me. You might have to bleep that out.
We're good. We're good.
But so we can do some really cool, innovative stuff to to change the way the customer experience is and to enhance the customer experience. And to me, that's what it's all about. One other thing that 20 groups have done for years, which I think is a stupid metric, and it's one of those things that we've always done it because we've always done it this way, and that is back in the day, there was a metric, and they still use it in 20 groups to this day, which is what's your percentage of sales comp to front end gross? Well, that's a great metric when you don't have any finance income. But today, 50% or 60% of a dealer's income is F&I. That's a bullshit metric that people run their business off of. And it's like, dude, you're front end gross it's going away, man. I mean, you're going to make 50-60%.
Yeah, it came back for 18 months, but it's going away again, everybody. Just remember.
I mean, and we've all seen it go away. You start to see that stuff dropping now that the market's kind of starting.
That's so interesting because I've heard so many dealers be like 15% is my comp to front end gross, like over and out. That's what it's got to be. And if it's not, then it's not. But then you hear, and you got some dealers and they're like, I've never cared about that. And they're like, but look at my net profit statement, right?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Like I have a pay plan that I put in stores when I did consulting, and I don't pitch pay plans, but if a dealer asks me, I tell them, but I pay a salesperson off all gross. It doesn't matter, all of it, and I get my comp down. But if you do that measurement and you get everybody pulling on the same rope, I call it a profit sharing pay plan, and it gets the salesperson to think like a dealer. And the more money the dealer makes, the more money the salesman makes, and the less money the dealer makes, the less money the salesman makes. And so, and you end up paying people more than they've ever made, and your comp comes in less than it's ever come in before, because it's not a traditional pay plan. It's innovative. It's outside the box, but they're getting paid on everything, and it's getting them to think like a dealer. And so, but it throws that metric way out of the realm,
way out of whack.
So
right?
the question is, so you told the story, about the discipline that it took and the mindset shift that it took to lose 200 pounds over a number of years. We're talking about a mindset shift that needs to happen that doesn't sound like it's easily going to happen all at once, right? Just like you can't lose 200 pounds at once. Right? But you have to have discipline over time. What are the things and the mechanisms that you use to start to shift the perspective of the folks that are locked into this old way, right? Just because we cut it in half because that's what we do. What are the things that you see work as you start to try to turn the head of a dealer, maybe not make a wholesale change, but like, can we stair step them there? You have any experience you can share with us there?
Well, man, it's, all the years, I call it leading people down the path of self-discovery. Understanding what the right questions are to ask that elicit that Here's the thing, dealers, no offense to dealers, I've been around them my whole life. I love them. My best friends are dealers. But a lot of them are very stuck in their ways. They don't like to hear what, a new alternative way is. And so it's, it has to be their idea. And so the only way to make it their idea is to lead them down the path of self-discovery and to ask those right questions. I'll give you an example. I spent millions of dollars.
Yeah. Hold on real quick before the example, because I think that we say that about dealers, but I think it's probably more universal than that, right? Like go back to your story about health and wellness, right? You probably could have watched like I don't know, 500 videos on why you should stop eating so much, right? But there was some level of self-discovery that led you to like, maybe there's a better way, right? And I think that that's like, we pin it on people that
it's human nature.
Oh,
is what you're saying.
that, you know,
Well,
when
here's
when
the
it's
thing, to elicit change, I have a saying that I've done personally, which is the pain of doing it has to be greater than the pain of not doing it. And so, the pain of eating too much and being unhealthy has to become greater than the pain of eating healthy.
Yeah, I mean that goes. I've heard a similar statement, like when they talk about, rebel groups with small arms holding off large armies. They're like, the pain of occupation you have to just make it hurt more than the value of just holding the territory.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's about that mental mindset, right? And the brain is such a powerful thing, and that's, I love studying psychology. That was, something that I've loved for years. I mean, I have an executive coach who, I talk to on a weekly basis, who, is just phenomenal about human engineering. All my people have the ability to talk to him anytime they want to as well. And so it's all about creating that right mental mindset to create success. And it doesn't matter what that success is, but it's about that mental mindset and how you shift your thinking.
Hold up. Because you just dropped something that was, you just like, I think Cirillo knows what you just were like, it just kind of spilled out of your mouth. But you were like, I've got this executive coach. I talk to him weekly, but I made him, everybody on my team has access to him.
Yeah.
Like that, we just do a whole podcast about that right there, right? Because it's like, how many executives, general managers, owners of companies, all that type of stuff have an executive coach, get mentoring, all that type of stuff. It's the person that they believe is the best suited to make sure that their business is able to succeed, and would never give their team access to that. What led you to that belief to go like, hey, this executive coach, you have access to him? Because that probably is not cheap. If I had to guess,
it's not cheap. I mean, it's
right.
It's far from cheap.
What are we talking here? No, I'm just kidding.
But at the end of the day, here's what it's all about to me. As an employer, I have a responsibility to make sure that my employees are better husbands, wives, mothers, fathers, everything. And if I do that, they become better employees. And so if I make sure that their lifestyle and the way they deal with their life and their kids and their family and everything else is all good, then they become better employees and they work harder and do better. That's why I have unlimited PTO in my company. I don't care. Take time off. Who gives a shit? If you got your job done, do it. But hey, if you got stuff, 20%, I've learned this over the years, 20% of everybody in your company always has something personal going on. And so, when I hired salespeople, I would always hire 20% more than I needed, because I always knew that 20% of them was going to have some drama or crisis in their life that's not going to allow them to work. And so I made up for that by hiring 20% more, so that I always had the full-time staff that I needed. And so, I think letting people be them, I have people on my team that have ADHD real bad, and that, sometimes kind of, go off the rails a little bit and throw a temper tantrum or whatever. And I walk in and they're throwing a temper tantrum. I'm like, whoa, what happened to you this morning? And I'm like, okay. Then I go to my office and I come back a couple hours later and I'm like, all right, man, you got your head straight? You done throwing your temper tantrum? All right, get to work. So
I feel like that accent, that hat has the ability to walk in and ask someone if they're done flowing.
Get to it. Yeah,
it's just about, hey, I want to be the best person I can be. I want to, me personally, it's all about being the best, not being a know-it-all, always having that student and learning mentality. And I try to focus that on my team. So.
Do you have those hats behind you? Is there a code for each hat? Like, yo, when Haas is wearing that hat,
it's
walk in the opposite direction.
No, I just that's not all the hats I have. That's just the only ones. That's all that rack will hold.
I love it. This is like almost a version of Mr. Rogers, because I picture you walking into your office, taking one hat off, putting another hat on.
Except the melody to Mr. Rogers is being played on a banjo.
Yeah.
Oh man, Haas, it has been just a ton of fun hanging out with you, and we've barely known you before hanging out with you here, but we can tell you're a man after our hearts, and it's been a ton of fun kind of digging into your beliefs and what you're doing to support the auto industry. I know you'll be at ASOTU Con, and people can reach out to you, obviously. Thanks so much, and on behalf of all of us at Auto Collabs, appreciate you.
Oh, hey, thanks, man. Have everybody stop by the booth.
Okay, Haas name, check. Cowboy hat, check. 3 cowboy hats in the background, check.
Triple check.
There's more. Hold on.
I mean, his last name's Devine.
Apologize for cursing on the show. Check. He's a gentleman.
Continued to curse for emphasis.
After that,
check.
Like, Haas is our new best friend. This guy.
He is.
It's great.
He puts
And
off a
every
real-
time it was like something mind-blowing that he said,
just kept
like all
going.
the other stuff, he was like so intent, and then the mind-blowing stuff, he'd be like, nah.
Yeah.
Just pull the pin, throw it,
Yeah.
just keep walking. He's
Well, you know what
the
that
guy
is,
that
though?
walks away from an explosion without flinching. He is that guy.
Yeah, you
Yes.
were talking earlier about characters in the auto industry, and I think like this is one of those things as we seek to dispel the especially through More Than Cars, we kind of seek to dispel that negative stigma that looms over the industry.
Mhm.
I've never met more people outside of an Amway convention who are so committed to personal development.
Right.
Like,
This dude gives up he makes sure his executive coach is available to his entire staff.
yeah, like what? And I think that's the side of the industry that the three of us see regularly.
It's a norm. It is actually
so
a norm.
for him, he glosses over it because he's like, of course I personal develop. Of course I want my team to elevate.
Duh.
And that's the story that we, through ASOTU, obviously we seek to just get out there more and more so that more and more people realize that. Because I think if they really understood how not only do 1 in 4 Americans work in the auto industry in one shape or form, that the commitment to growth and development and elevating people around you is bar none at a higher threshold than I've ever seen. And he's no exception.
Without a doubt. I don't think we can end on a better note than that. On behalf of Kyle Mountseer, Michael Cirillo, and myself, thank you so much for listening to Auto Collabs.
Welcome to Auto Collabs. Why are we recording?
Are we rolling yet?